Hey folks, I'm Caleb Foshi with the Dust Bowl Catholic, and this is my Catholic Dollar. So week one in our 14-part series is simple. Don't be normal. Be Catholic. And if you're like the average American, you are stressed out. You've got car payments, doctor bills, the mortgage, insurance payments, and worst of all, those credit cards. And boy, do we love our credit cards here in America. But if you look at sources like CNBC, the Federal Reserve, USA Today, and other reputable places, you'll find that the average American is over $300,000 in debt. Here's a breakdown.
So let's take a look at the average U.S. household debt burden. First, we have the mortgage at $202,000, student loans at $50,000, car loans at $40,000, and credit cards at a whopping $17,000. This totals to $309,000, as we said before. Now let's translate these into monthly payments. So if you use the average interest rates and the average life of the loan and the average minimum payments, you end up with an $1,100 mortgage, $560 student loan payment, $700 in car loans, and $440 a month on that credit card. By the time everything is said and done, you are paying a whopping $2,800 a month just to service this debt. If you take the entire life of these loans to pay them off, you're going to pay almost 2/3 of $1 million. So let's look at that average household debt payment and figure out how much money you have to make before taxes in order to make just that $2,800 a month payment. So if we multiply $2,800 a month by 12, we get $33,600 a year. This is how much you have to make after taxes to pay this off every year. But we all know that the government has to take their cut from what we make every year. So when you back out taxes, Social Security, Medicare, all those things, you have to make $44,800 a year. Now you might be saying to yourself, oh, that's fine. I make more than that. And chances are you do. The average household income before taxes is $59,000. But again, the government's got to take their cut out of that. Once they're done with it, you only have $44,250 a year, which breaks down to just under $3,700 a month to pay your bills and your debts. At this point, you're saying to yourself, hey, that's great. I've got $3,700 a month coming in, and I only have to pay $2,800 a month for my debts. Until you do the actual math and realize you have less than $900 a month left over to pay for everything else in life that comes to hit you, like food and gas and electricity, garbage, water, diapers, don't forget that. Oh, and shoes, concert dresses, car insurance, homeowners insurance, life insurance, health insurance. Oh, and those doctor bills it didn't cover, cell phones, cable, office luncheons. I give up.
So no wonder people cannot sleep at night. And this is normal. This is nothing out of the blue or different from anybody else. The average American is going through this. But again, we are not called to be normal. We are called to be Catholic. But here's just a little bit more about what it's like to be normal in America.
Something even more scary than the debt and income numbers we talked about earlier is the fact that we as Americans are woefully unable to cover emergency problems. Let's take something simple like a flat tire. That'll cost you about $400 to replace. 41% of us could not cover that with cash, which means you're either going to put it on a credit card or it's going to impact your other bills. Let's say that little Timmy breaks his arm and you've got to go to the hospital, and that emergency gets bumped up to $1,000. With that, 61% of Americans cannot cover that bill. Let's go even further down this rabbit hole. Do you expect to miss a payment this month? You are not alone. Over 1 in 5 Americans expect to miss a bill this month. How about this? Do you feel like you live paycheck to paycheck? I mean, you're one missed paycheck away from everything imploding on you. You're going to miss your rent and every other bill. You are certainly not alone. Almost 80% of Americans live this way. And that's not all. 10% of people that make over $100,000 a year live this way.
Just think, what if you had $1,000 in the bank for one of those big emergencies? I have 4 kids, and I hold my breath a lot because I'm always afraid there's going to be one of those emergencies. And you, as a Catholic, probably have more than the normal 1.5 kids that folks have in America. So the stress and the worry and the inability to do what we want with what God has given us keeps us from being the Catholics we should be. Here's a Bible verse.
Romans 13:8 says, "Owe no one anything except to love one another."
That is pretty powerful. Owe no one anything. Can you imagine a life like that, where you had absolutely no debt and owed nobody anything? Just think of what you could do, what you could give to the church, because we all know we should give more to the church. Can you imagine cutting a check that would fund the ultrasound machine that your local Knights of Columbus Council is sponsoring? What if you just did it for them? Or what about making a significant contribution, or just buying outright a new high altar for your church that's in a historic area or is a historic building? Priests need vestments. What about a new set of vestments for the entire year that doesn't look like it came from the 60s? Imagine what you could do if you had no debt. Let's look at some church teaching now.
St. John Paul the Great wrote to us in 1991, "It is not wrong to want to live better. What is wrong is a style of life which is presumed to be better when it is directed towards having rather than being."
Think about that. How much of our debt is centered around having instead of being? I know we just came from Christmas. Let's think about Christmas. Did you put most of Christmas on a credit card? And did the kids play with those toys for more than a week? Sometimes, my kids, sometimes they would play with the box more than they did with the toy that came in the box, So it's a mind shift. We have to realize that life isn't about having things. It's about being, and being the best we can be, which means no debt, owe no one anything, so that you can give to the church, so that you can give to your neighbor who's having a hard time because they lost their job. It's time to stop being normal. It's time to be Catholic. So over the next few weeks, we're going to go over all sorts of things. We're going to look at debt, income, working hard. We're talking about budgets and large purchases and retirement and savings. And I hope that you will come along with me.
So here's your homework for the week. First, prayer, and especially the rosary. Second, call upon the saints. St. Matthew is the patron saint of finances, and if you're in dire straits, St. Jude is the one to go to because he is for hopeless causes. Third, you've got to communicate. Cleaning up your finances is a team effort. You've got to sit down with your spouse. You've got to be on the same page. The only way this works is civil discourse. You must speak to each other, not fight, not yell. And lastly, you're going to dig in. You've got to figure out what you owe and who you owe it to. You also need to know how much you make and how much is in all your bank accounts. Pull all of this information together so that you have a clear picture of what you're up against.
I'm Caleb Foshi for the Dust Bowl Catholics My Catholic Dollar. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you think about this. And we'll see you next week. Until that time, be not afraid.